I'm here on the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington, commemorating the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. Here's just a few things of what people had to say here today. Do you feel that we've come a long way from now to 50 years ago?
Oh, absolutely, man. If you look at the crowd that's coming through here tonight, it's very diverse. You got people from all ages and backgrounds and ethnicities. But you know what? We come a long way, but we still got a long way to go, though. We still got a long way to go.
What are some things that you feel that should change?
Perspectives. People perspectives of other people. Still a lot of racial tension, racial bias. It's a lot that we can do to curb it, but I don't think you can ever stop it, though. But we come a long way, though. I think it's better now here in 2013 than it was back in '63.
Do you feel like the next generation has a lot of work to do, or what type of world do you feel like we're leaving to our kids?
Yeah, they got a lot of work to do, but they only lead by example. So if we don't teach them, then what are they going to do? They only going to go by what they see on the mass media, what they're going to hear on the radios and everything like that. So it's up to us to help them, and guide them and lead them in the right direction.
Do you feel like the celebrities that are here today, I know there's Oprah Winfrey, Forrest Whitaker, do you feel like they're making their presence as much as the leaders from back in the day in the 1960s? Do you feel like they're doing their part in all of this?
Yeah, well, you know what? Back in the day, that was Harry Belafonte, and he was a part of a movement that happens to coincide with the movement here at the March on Washington. You got a lot of celebrities that are out, politicking and making it good for the communities and stuff. A lot of people, get on it just to get on TV, just to get on camera, to sell an album. You know what I'm saying? If you're doing it for that, then you really ain't making no impact. If you're really out there and you making it happen, you know what? It's gonna be all right, man. But if you're just doing it just because, hey, everybody else is out there and I got an album I need to sell, so I need to show my face so that people can see that I care. You know what I mean? To me, that's fake. You know what I mean? If you're gonna keep it real, keep it real. Be out there when it ain't no cameras, you know what I mean, in the media and everything. Let's do it for real, man.
I'm here for the history. I'm here for the people. I'm a little mad at Obama right now, and I almost didn't come, but I figured I was here on Saturday, and I wanted to come back and feel the energy again. I was 4 months old when the first march happened. And my mother was very involved in civil rights. She was a folk singer like me and a teacher, educator. And there's articles of her singing at the NAACP and doing concerts and going to protests. And I remember when I was little, I got up on stage with her and sang. And I'm a folk singer, and I actually sing for children and teach them about, whatever's appropriate, preschool kids, but, about rights of different people and rights of the earth and rights of the animals and things like that.
So when it comes to Dr. King's speech and his legacy and his work, how well do you feel the population that's here now, how well do you feel that they're sort of in touch?
A lot of people don't realize how much people went through to even be able to gather like this. I mean, it was so controversial, and the city was so scared and on lockdown. And now it's kind of like almost, it's very, very built up militarily today, and there's a lot of stuff going on. But I think it's almost like going to a ball game, and I don't know, I think we've come a long way. As a Jew, I'm discriminated against. My mother escaped from Germany, but I can hide my religion. You can't hide the color of your skin. So I've got one up on you, and I have white privilege. And I feel like I need to stand up against, inequality and injustice. And I'm going to do that for the rest of my life. And I'm proud to do that. I feel like the youth are doing a good job, and they're very much more accepting of differences, LGBT differences and color differences and religious differences, but there's still a lot of work to be done, and there's a lot of polarization, because there's a lot more conservative people and a lot more hate groups. And I don't know if you know about the Southern Poverty Law Center, but they follow the KKK and the Nazi Party in this country and hate groups in general, and they're on the rise. So we need to be on the rise.
Justice, equality, human rights, civil rights, and all those things is something that has to be earned. And it's taking a year, I mean, many, many years to get to this point, but having Obama in office, I think, is a landmark, momentous occasion of getting those things accomplished.
How do you feel? Do you feel like we've come a long way so far?
Well, I look at a social situation and I look at the economic disadvantage that's still in a situation that we have not come out of yet, but we're making strides.
And as far as the leadership, we saw great leadership in Martin Luther King. Do you feel like we are still seeing that today?
Well, with Minister Louis Farrakhan, peace and blessings be upon him, I think we're making even more.
Why do you feel that way?
Well, you have to look at a broken people and a people who have come out of a lot of situations of bondage, degradation, oppression, and all those kind of things. And if you look at opportunities today, economically, we're still in the same situation pretty much with that situation. Other situations have changed, but we have a lot of work to do.
And what are your thoughts on the education system? Do you feel like we are doing a good job in educating our kids, whether they be minority or not minority? Do you feel like we're doing a good job in educating them on the rights of equality, freedom?
Well, I think education is a big issue to talk about because if you look at the playing field, you know, being fair in all sincerity, there's a lot of issues that need to be addressed, that need to be dealt with. Education is something that we should take very seriously, and a lot of people of color have really yet to break the threshold of that issue. But that's something that we can work on as well. But progress is being made.
No one came up here to be negative and to be like, you know, Debbie Downer and I hate the world. People came up here because they saw some type of possibility in this day. And because of that possibility, like the positive is in the air everywhere you go, and all you have to do is run into it and let it find you.
Going forward, what are some of the things you think people can do to keep that positivity growing?
I think that, well, first and foremost is to just always wake up with a smile. Like, that's number one. And you can't expect change like looking at somebody else or listening to somebody on the TV, because that's not where you're going to find it. If you know that today I'm going to wake up and I have a goal for myself and I'm going to accomplish that goal, whatever it is, whether it be small, whether it be, you know, I want to eat something different today, whether it be I want to go down and volunteer, or, you know, I want to do well at my job, like, just keep that positivity and know that you're accomplishing whatever goals you set out for yourself. You know, it's I feel cliche, but it's like Michael Jackson says, you know, you got to start with the man in the mirror. So
I'm here with my friend to see Obama speak because I just feel like it's a big, monumentous occasion, because like 50 years ago it was Martin Luther King advocating for civil rights and equality, and now our own president is kind of reliving it, and to see how far we've come in history is just really amazing.
Do you feel like the leaders that we have today, do you feel like they're similar to the leaders during Martin Luther King's time?
Yes and no, kind of. Like, I just feel like it's all kind of personal opinion, and like I feel like JFK was really also an advocate for equality as like Obama is now. So yeah, I think it kind of goes both ways.
Oh, personally, how do you feel about it? Do you feel like we're here? Do you feel like we've come a long way? Or do you feel like we still have, I guess, what is something that you're passionate about that you would like to see change?
I think we have come a long way compared to the 60s, but I feel like there is still improvement to be made, and just like people still have like similar opinions, not as strong, of course, but as they did back in the 60s. So I just feel like there's still plenty of room for improvement in the future to come. So,
do you have anything else to say, maybe to like either your generation or to younger generations?
pretty much just be accepting of everybody you meet. Don't judge a book by its cover, and always be ready for change.
We need to understand why we're here. This is the 50th anniversary commemoration of the March on Washington, but we need to more than commemorate. Most people have not even read the I Have a Dream speech. So they don't have a point of reference as to what Dr. King's dream is, okay? I personally have interviewed people, and I was horrified at the results that I did not get. So you have people with their banners up for every kind of cause under the sun that is totally irrelevant when it comes to the March on Washington. If you're at an immigration march, okay, we know what to expect. This is not an immigration march. This is the March on Washington. And Dr. King mentioned in the first 5 paragraphs, he mentioned the plight of the so-called Negro, and he came here to dramatize that condition.
I run an organization called Covenant House here in Washington. We work with homeless young people. It's part of an international organization, and I see, and I've seen for the last 25 years in the work that I do, a lot of homeless young kids, kids who don't have an education, kids who end up in prison early. And so I know that the justice issues haven't been righted here, and most of those kids are young people of color. So it means a lot to me to come here to remember that there's been a 50-year-old plus, more than that fight, but since 1963, and that we have to bear and continue that fight.
What improvements do you think that we need to make? I know we've come a long way so far, but what improvements are there?
Well, there are tens of millions of Americans living in poverty, and I know a lot of it's associated with laws that need to be better, especially for people of color. Needs to be more emphasis from the government and the private partnership in terms of supporting folks in terms of their education, in terms of health care. Because until we move people out of poverty, until we give them an equal opportunity around education and health care and jobs, we're going to see and lose another generation of young people. And I think that that's a huge justice issue here in the United States, and the fight isn't over yet.
I know you and I, we don't necessarily have seats on the Senate, but what are things that you and I can do to make a difference?
Well, I think it's pay attention to current legislation that's being proposed. An example is the current immigration legislation. I personally believe it needs to be passed. Personally, for myself, I believe that we do need to give a level of amnesty, and the plan that's being put forward does a kind of a version of a 10-year plan for that with people who are already here. I think that we need to be very inclusive in how we view things. I think we're going to have to go back also and fight to kind of right what I see as wrong as far as the Supreme Court's recent decision in terms of voter registration and voting rights. That was kind of turned back the clock as far as how they district folks around the country. So I think that American people, we live a pretty nice life in terms of a kind of middle class, but we really need to pay attention to those folks who don't have that kind of life, because it really is a justice issue. It's an issue on equality.
I did 20 years in prison. They released me May the 1st, 2002, and I wanted to try to explain to people about prison and what was going on. And I would travel around the schools, and I would actually wear this and try to convince young people to never put it on. Because once you put it on, you lose benefits, you lose voting rights. You can commit a crime when you're 16, and then when you're 30 years old and you're married, you can't defend your family because you can't vote and you can't carry a gun. So the last thing you want to do is become a part of this system here.
I mean, what does that mean to you as far as losing some of your rights because of your actions or things that happened in the past?
Well, it's important because now I'm a taxpayer. I have a ranch. I have horses. I have all the animals. But when it comes to decision making, I have a program where I travel pre-K through high school, where I explain the American flag, that you have a right to pick your leaders. But once you commit a crime, then that right is taken away from you. I can't choose my representatives because I committed a crime. So therefore, I have to encourage somebody else to pick my leader for me. But if I don't commit a crime, then I have a right to choose who my leadership is going to be. So it's important not to ever, get a charge, become a felon.
And I understand that you have doctor in front of your name. What was that? Where does that inspiration come from to beat these stigmas that may be socialized with the past?
When I was 15 years old, I was in North Carolina. That's when I went to prison, couldn't read and write, passed through the school system. And for 20 years, they told me I wasn't going to be nothing. For 20 years, because of what I was doing in prison, they kept telling me, well, when you get out, you're going to do the same thing. You'll come back, you'll return. And I was determined to get out and to say to all the men that I left behind, you can get out and you can stay out if you want to. And I'm determined to do it, to give them hope, to let them know that regardless of where you come from, that you don't have to go back.
So 50 years ago, Martin Luther King made his way out here and he gave his speech on the Mall. And now 50 years later, we see our first black president making his own speech. What does that mean to you?
Even as he speaks now, I remember when he was running and everybody kept saying, they're not going to elect him. They're not ready for a black president. And I tell children, we're a product of our thinking. He first believed that he could be president. And then he set out to inspire everybody else to believe that he could be president. So the mere fact that he's up there as president tell each and every one of us, God don't deal with big eyes and little U's. What he deal with is paying dues. He paid his dues, and that's why he up there. And he should be an example for each and every one of us. If you pay your dues, you can be anything in this world you want to be. I often tell young people is that find out what someone have done and then simply ask them, how did you do it? And then pay your dues and you can do it too. But to just say that I'm not going to do it and make excuses, surely you will never do it. All you have to do is follow someone else's lead. Shakespeare says the world is a stage and every man and woman is merely a character. That's all. And I say, look, pick a character, but if you're going to pick one, pick a hero.
Well, I'm here for the same reason I was here in 1963. I was a college student in 1963 when I came down here to the march. In fact, I worked with the local host committee at that time, which was headed up by Reverend Walter Fontenot, who later became the delegate to Congress of the District of Columbia.
Were there a number of reasons when you first came in 1963?
There was a number of reasons. As you know, at that time, the sit-in demonstrations in the country had started, and I had been a part of the sit-in demonstrations. So in order to further my advocacy, I became a part of the local host committee that hosted the march here in D.C. And so I worked with that and consequently was able to come to the march and be a part of it.
When it comes to Dr. King and his work, and especially his speech, which happened 50 years ago, do you feel that the general public has been able to build off of his work and his speech?
There's no question that that has happened. As you know, it was a tremendous speech, and most of it being ad-lib, especially the I Have a Dream portion of it was all ad-lib. So I think the general public have accepted his speech. have accomplished many things that was in his speech, but yet and still we have many things yet to do.
Mm-hmm. Are there any particular areas that you see?
Well, economics, and one. I was listening to a program yesterday, and they showed where they were saying the same unemployment rate that we had back in '63 we still have today. So that can mean even though economics was part of the march, jobs was part of the march 50 years ago, and it's part of the march today, it still is a part of the march today because there has not been any greater accomplishments in that job market.
And going forward, do you have any, words of wisdom that you think the general public could kind of hold on to take them forward?
Well, just know that we have not accomplished all of his goals. If we were to accomplish all of his goals, then we would have taken care of his dream. So we need to keep working and keep fighting for his goals.
The city is working with Montgomery County to expand Washington, D.C.'s very popular Capital Bike Share system into this area, into the city and into other parts of down county Montgomery. It's like a bike transit system. It's a bike sharing system. It differs from a bike rental. There's these stations all over the city or all over the area, and you can get a bike for short amounts of time, usually just for a one-way trip, from point A to point B.
A lot of families actually bike together in Takoma Park. You see in the morning, if you observe this area right around the community center, there are families, the dad or the mom riding with even a couple of kids. They drop one child off at Piney Branch, they drop another child off at Takoma Park Elementary, then the mom or dad rides to the metro.
It's great because it helps people get to that bus stop they're trying to get to, or the metro station, which is maybe a 15-minute walk, they can get there on a bike or a bike share in just a couple minutes. We're here at 5th and Kennedy in the District of Columbia. This is the closest bike share station to Takoma Park right now. It's about a mile and a half away. And I'm just gonna walk through how you use the bike share. Every station has one of these kiosks here where you can pay, and if you're not a member, what you do is, there's instructions here, so it shows you how much it costs and you know how it works. And you pay with your credit card, and you just pop it in here, you follow the keypad instructions, and a little piece of paper with a number code will pop out right here. And then what you do with that little number code is you type in the numbers, and a bike will come right out, and you're good to go, you're rolling. I'm a member of BikeShare, which means I have one of these little BikeShare keys that you can order online, and it'll come to you in the mail. And it's really handy if you're a BikeShare user, because all you do is you come up to a bike anywhere and you insert your key, a little yellow light flashes, a little green light comes on, and then you just take the bike out and you're good to go. Now, I brought my helmet. Safety first. BikeShare also offers really inexpensive helmets for folks who don't necessarily have them, but a lot of people do anyway. And the nice thing about these bikes, you can see they're pretty heavy duty. They're step-through bikes, which means they're easy to get on and off of. Really easy if you're wearing all sorts of different kinds of pants or a skirt or something like that. And they have this nice space here with a bungee cord where you can hold stuff like your groceries or your bag. As you're pedaling, there's a light on the front and there's a red light on the back that flashes. There's 3 speeds here, and it's a twist shifter, so it's really easy to use. Before you get your bike out, you can change your seat height. I know I'm a 4, because I've used this before. Make sure it's on there tight, hop on, and then you're ready to go. So whether you're a member or you're just getting the bike as a day user or a 3-day user, the first 30 minutes of every trip is always included in the price that you pay. You can use it for unlimited increments of 30 minutes. Basically, they don't want you using the bike for more than that at a time, because they want to keep the bikes in the system so that folks always have access to them throughout the day. You can use it for longer, but you start to get charged a little bit as you go. And so when you come back to the BikeShare station, you just hop off the bike, put it in. The green light means you're good to go. And carry about your day. Housing and Community Development Department here at the city has been working with folks at Montgomery County Department of Transportation to locate stations where they would go in the city and work on getting them set up so that they can install the actual equipment. There will be 5 stations in Takoma Park. One of them will be right here outside of the library at the community center. The stations are all solar powered, so they need 4 hours of direct sunlight a day. They're all about 45 feet long, so we need the ample space. And we also wanted destinations, places where people wanted to go, people wanted to end up, but also where people were so that they could take it and either go somewhere else or go home or something like that. There's one station down Maple Avenue at Ritchie. There's one station in Old Town at the Gazebo. There's one station at the Tacoma Junction by the Co-op. And there will be one at Washington Adventist University on Flower Avenue.
There's a new Takoma Park bike map. This can help you plan your route. I prefer if you decide on your route before you head out. This will help you biking to school, biking around town. I think that people will start to notice that there's a lot of biking around town. The kids will get the idea. They'll see the adults as a model of good behavior.
A lot of residents in town, in the city, already have memberships, and they're already using it in the district where they may work or where they're visiting on the weekends. Folks are really going to enjoy it. I think it's going to increase their options for how they get around, their mobility in Takoma Park. The District of Columbia will be adding a station right near the Tacoma Metro, So for folks traveling, let's say between here at the community center and the Tacoma Metro station, they could easily just take a bike to cut their 15-minute walk in half or even less. So I think there's going to be a lot of little short trips that folks are really going to benefit from using the system and the network from.
So tonight we're trying to gather input from the community on the Environmental Sustainability Action Plan. We've been coordinating with the city and with the Committee on the Environment and the development of strategies to date, but we needed to open it up to really get the community's input and what strategies they might like to take advantage of and what we've missed so far in our brainstorming efforts.
I know that Montgomery County has a goal, I think, of reducing by 80% by 2050, I believe, their greenhouse emissions. And so, I think that what they showed tonight is that if the city were to effectively implement all of the recommendations, and all of the recommendations may be a tough thing because they all have cost issues and some other things that go along with them, but if we were to implement all of them, that we would be right on track effectively with meeting that requirement.
We received guidance from the city and the Committee on the Environment to focus on energy and greenhouse gas emissions, that being an area they felt they were having trouble addressing and providing services to the community in. And so we looked to building energy efficiency, energy supply, and transportation as being kind of the three big places they can have an influence there.
So tonight, for example, we had dot voting. We had some ways people could just give written comments. And so the polling is just another way to get feedback from people so we can look at all of those together in helping the city prioritize strategies for implementation.
We basically have 4 topic areas that are displayed on the posters. That's overarching strategies, which are kind of general educational efforts or staffing in order to support a stronger sustainability program at the city. We have energy efficiency in buildings, and that's residential, commercial, and multifamily, as well as institutional buildings. Energy supply, so introducing more renewables into the electrical supply primarily, and transportation, so looking at some options to try to reduce vehicle trips.
I thought that was an interesting and useful process. We had about 20 minutes to look at different strategies, about maybe 15 different strategies, and to put little dots next to the ones, 2 of those that we thought were most important.
We did what we call keypad polling, and it's a fun and innovative way to get feedback during open houses in communities we work with. We find that people are very interested in it. For this particular one, we designed it to not only get some background information about the people who are at the meeting in terms of where they live in town, are they a business owner, do they own or rent their home, and so on, but also to get some ideas from them specifically about what they want to see in the plan in terms of the strategies.
We're not really to the stage yet of picking individual strategies or deciding which ones they might try to implement within their budget, but we are going to give the city guidance on what set of programs we think they can fit within their budget and will have the most impact. As far as the overall cost to the community, we're really trying to leverage the other programs that I mentioned from the county and from the utilities to take advantage of the money that's already been dedicated to efficiency and help Takoma Park and its residents have their dollars go further by taking advantage of money that's already available out there.
I think that there's a budget item which I think was created before I came. It's close to $200,000 that the city has in terms of implementation items for the report, which I think will come in very handy.
I think there's a strong interest in multifamily and finding some ways to support that community in efficiency, and energy supply has been a strong interest as well.
No, the city's always, I think, been on the cutting edge as it relates to many environmental and sustainability issues. I know that composting is big. There's a pilot program right now that I think we're looking to expand this upcoming fiscal year. There's some bioretention areas that the city has, and obviously in terms of purchasing hybrids and other sort of vehicles, the city's always sort of been on the cutting edge. So I think this report actually just continues on with many of the things that Takoma Park's already been doing.
You're never too young to make a big contribution to the environment. Let's take 2 very special teens from the city of Takoma Park, Alana and Aaron, who not only donated their time to the Anacostia Watershed Society, but also donated a boat. Not just any old boat,
a boat they built with their own 2 hands.
17-year-old Aaron Richards and his 14-year-old sister Alana share an experience most adults triple their age have never experienced before. The siblings built a 10-foot wooden rowboat, and after 9 long years of labor, they are donating their passion project to the Anacostia Watershed Society.
I'm so happy that we're giving it to a place where they can enjoy it and use it, because personally I know my family wouldn't have been able to get as much use out of it as it was made for.
The idea of the boat is all thanks to a barter agreement, a token of gratitude from a former neighbor.
We shared a fence, and the fence was getting pretty old, and so we decided to replace it. Instead of him contributing money, we came up with the deal that we would pay for the fence and then he would build this boat with me and my sister.
It's no wonder why they call this boat the Fence.
I've definitely been outdoorsy my whole life, and I really like being outdoors, and conservation is a big part of that in my mind. I'm sure they'll find a good use for it. I hope it would go to educating people, raising awareness. Those are the 2 things that I feel strongly about.
I spoke to the proud father, and he agrees that the son and daughter he describes as budding environmentalists Aaron and crafty Alana couldn't have made a better choice in donating it.
Well, what could be better than to follow a passion? You know, Aaron was a tree hugger, an environmentalist by nature, and Alana is very creative and clever and likes to do handicrafts and things like that. So what a perfect way to bring that together. Aaron did his internship at the Anacostia Watershed Society last year and thought, what a great place to donate the boat. The society has all kinds of things around here, and so it just seemed like a perfect way. It wasn't like we were going to use it to go down Sligo Creek now, right? So there's no need to have it in our backyard.
According to Jim Foster, the president of the Anacostia Watershed Society in Bladensburg, he's impressed with the society's newest addition and believes one good deed deserves another.
It is really great. It is about community engagement. We can't have a clean river without a clean community. We can't clean up the river without engaging the citizens of the watershed in that effort. Very thrilled about it, as much as because of the symbolism of having the kids do a project and donate their time and energy and then donate the product to us as a representative of other people doing and participating in the work here in the watershed. The 20 of us at Anacostia Watershed Society are never going to clean up this river by ourselves. What we're really trying to do is change behavior, engage people, demonstrate to them that this stuff is possible, that they can do little things. There's 1 million people that live in this watershed. If we all throw one water bottle out the window, that's 1 million bottles that are going to end up in my river. If we can work together and everybody does a little bit, we'll get a lot done.
I think that any little thing that you do can make a big difference. I'm so glad to be able to help in any way possible. And so I'm just so glad that we got to have the opportunity to build the boat and donate it here.